range and just try and play counters to it instead. They know that Eagle are a very tank-heavy team. It seems to be all they play for the most part. So in this case, they have the opportunity to, should we say, prep some strats around Eagle. But Eagle, one thing that's always been the defining factor for them is we've always said they're a very static team. They only play tank. They're a very flexible tank team. We've seen them play 3-3 with Roadhogs in there, dropping the Zarya. And we've seen some teams around the world, in Korea, in North America, they've been swapping out things like the Zarya for a Sombra. So you may see that come into some of their compositions today.
In the previous matchup, we talked about how inflexibility is often a strength for a team, forcing another one to bend to their whim. And you just talked about how bad the tank compositions are of Orgless and Hungry. And they've run in with a GOATS composition. Des, you've been bamboozled by some false information.
I have. And Eagle, they're probably in the situation now like, what? Where are they? Seriously, what the hell's going on right now? I think they've now realized that the fact that they're coming up against another tank comp is saying, right, we've got to go our normal tank comp. Let's play this 3-3. They're rolling out with the Zens. They have that available if they want to be able to block out one of the Graviton surges. They've also got hold of that Discord orb to burn down the front line.
Already, tanks are clashing at the entryway. No one's got a foot on the point to try and contest Orgless and Hungry, but Superfluke doesn't want a point. He wants the whole chase down with that charge. A Shatter already out for him, and he's not going to knock down many members, but they're getting kills regardless. Superfluke with 3 kills to his name, and Lilbo following up with another one. Eagle Gaming, they're not going to allow Orgless and Hungry that first point.
I will have a lot of concerns for Orgless and Hungry if they choose to keep on playing tank comps, because the biggest concern is that they've said themselves, Eagle are a tank-based team. It's what they've spent all season playing. Orgless and Hungry have not done that, so they've got to mix things up, and it turns out so far, we're going to see May for the first time in this patch, Tridd, coming out here for Caspier.
Interesting mix-up to go to the May. Definitely going to change it up. They have sacrificed any ult charge they got from that first push already. They're trying to make it work. Cutting off, that's a fluorescent green radioactive wall that's going to drop down. And Superfluke completely unfazed by potential radiation poisoning. The Geiger counter says it's nothing, and he's going to smash through. And Orgless and Hungry sent back to the spawn room already.
So it's a very similar function to what you have with Brigitte, and that is target isolation. She stuns them, May prevents you from running it away. You step backwards. Oh no, there is a wall there, and there are 6 members of the enemy team bearing down upon me. Has some good chip damage as well with that right click, which now no longer has any drop-off damage. Much like the May of Season 1 and 2, way back when in Overwatch, Graph Surge comes out for Eagle.
Pulling over the self-destruct, they've targeted the Reinhardt, that's a double kill! Eagle Gaming channeling the Giganti Bomb to push Orgless and Hungry back again, and they're about to hit the 60% mark, Des.
Smart stuff coming out of them. A little bit of a difference to a Giganti Bomb. Giganti Bombs tend to go along the floor behind the team. This one was high up in the air above them like an eagle, and then came crashing down with those claws, or I don't know, maybe some shrapnel in that self-destruct, God knows.
I don't know, either way, all I know is it goes boom, people die if they're not in cover. Doesn't really matter what the payload is like. Gonna go well again. Shatter comes down. That Graviton Surge, I believe, was eaten. No one's been hooked up by that one at all. And the Shatter's being thrown out. Transcendence keeping everyone alive. No one's got a definite advantage. Both sound barriers traded as well. They're throwing everything at this final push. Orgless and Hungry need to win this, otherwise they're not going to take this map. And Superfluke already taken out Latex. It's not a good sign. He's following up again with a kill onto Epps as Nico will take out his opposing man. The only return, the only rest by Orgless and Hungry get is a D-Mech, and that is certainly not enough. Round 1 surely going over to Eagle Gaming.
No contest at all coming through from Orgless and Hungry realistically, and that wasn't going to be the easiest map in the world for them, being realistic. Ilios, especially on Lighthouse, very, very enclosed. The point itself well protected. Once we go across the ruins and well, you may see them start mixing things up. Let's not forget exactly what we saw in their game against British Hurricane not too long ago. They brought out the craziness of what we've all started to call the hopping bastion.
I don't know if they're going to take the gamble. That seems like something you need to do to catch your opponents off guard. And Eagle Gaming, they could be half expecting this matchup. So they're going to try and go for something different. Hopefully Orgless and Hungry stay on this McCree, still changing it up, relying on that patch change, but not falling back into old habits.
And this is nice, because what they'll essentially do here is probably play with a 3-3 sort of setup, or maybe they'll just play 4-2 and send the D.Va and the Winston off. Everyone else will be back, making sure that the McCree stays alive. But look at Eagle Gaming on the other side. They're playing the dive here, and we've said about these guys before. Dive has never really been their bread and butter, but in this case, they're rolling it out with hardest on the Sombra.
And we got a fantastic Genji player like Nico, who already picks up the first kill of the game. It's unsurprising that you're going to fall onto the Genji when you want to run this dive composition, and new Sombra, been changed. Infinite Stealth can be very slippery for teams to deal with.
It's where Kevster is going to come in some use here, is being able to play on that Brigitte to get those stuns down onto Nico. We already saw with this guy last week what he can do when he gets given space on the Genji. So today, making sure he is shut down is going to be a key core element of the gameplay for Orgless and Hungry. That's assuming, of course, that Eagle Gaming spend most of the series running dive.
I was about to say, no one's got a definitive edge in this matchup, but Orgless and Hungry looking to take over Eagle Gaming, won't allow them their first capture, and they're going to get it themselves as they've already cleared them out.
Very scrappy point first couple of fights back and forth, but Hardest now with that EMP online may well change things for them. Key one to note as well that the charge on the Transcendence for Hip is at 90%, for Eps it's only at 70%, so unless this is a very delayed start to the next fight, that will be online for them. Orgless and Hungry were left with very little to answer to it with.
I love the small details on the skins as well, Des. The Overwatch Contenders logo on the barrel of McCree's gun. That's what we get now. We get skins this time. EMP dropping in on already. Eps with no shields and a small HP pool will feel the burn of Hardest. Nico dancing around on the edge. Hardest takes out the second support on the back line. Self-destruct. You've got to get out fast. Clear the area. Latex using the Primal Rage will shut down the stealthy hacker already. And Casper's rolling back. Got the high noon. Ready to pop it. Just goes for the damage rather than the confirmed kill. Too much pressure from Getaway to get away from it. Here comes the Dragon Blade onto the back line. Casper can't shut it down, so Nico gets one. Looking for a second. Been knocked back by Brigitte. Won't be able to confirm the kill. Getaway goes for the reset down the well. Orgless and Hungry, despite having lots of ultimates thrown at them, are managing to hold on to this one. And Eps will get his revenge on Nico after being stunned up by the Brigitte.
See, it's kind of funny how in the first round it was Orgless and Hungry playing Eagle's game. In this round, it's Eagle trying to play Orgless and Hungry's game. They're the ones most comfortable playing on these dive tanks, and so far it's working wonders for them. Biggest issue they're facing is they're diving in. You've got Kevs stunning you. You've got a flashbang coming through from Casper immediately after as well. There is no room to move around this team. They are very happy sitting on this corner, using the terrain, and answering anyone who comes anywhere near them with a few stuns to the face.
We knew Hardest had good tracking on the Zarya. Apparently he does on the McCree as well, able to take out Denia before the fight even begins. Sitting in a Transcendence for Eagle Gaming. Still need to get their feet on the point. Member actually getting it down at the moment. They're rather taking the fight. Kevster had to turn to face the self-destruct. Casper doesn't have a shield, so he will fall down to that. And a D-Mech takes out Leo Dead, follows up with Nico, and that's just an easy pickup for Latex to be taken out by Hardest. And he's getting himself on the kill feed with this McCree. He has the high noon to be able to use after Denia took him to the grave.
A little cheeky boop in there as well. That's always the most dangerous thing about this map is the size of the well. It's so easy to get those environmental kills as a Lucio. It's Dreamland as a Lucio main. Hell, if you're a tank who doesn't really have any movement abilities. What's really impressive so far for Eagle Gaming is they have switched to match over the comp that we're seeing come out of Orgless and Hungry, except Little Bo here on the Mercy as opposed to Daniel on the Lucio. If they can consistently win fights here, that's going to be very, very worrying for Orgless and Hungry going into the follow-up maps.
As a Deadeye used, as well as the rally, now it's time for Casper to isolate people away from the point, allow the capture to go over to Orgless. They just managed to touch at the last second. They're able to stagger it, but they will get the flip, 92%, so they have priority. They'll probably take this to overtime, even if they lose the fight, and they've got plenty to play with. Casper throwing out the flashbang, stuns up, get amazed. Well, that's gone on Nico on this Brigitte, taking out Latex. And Orgless and Hungry, they've come back on this second round of well. It's going to be a knockdown. Leo Dead's going to lose his mech. It will keep hold of his life as he's able to get onto the surface, and they're fighting on the fringes of the control point, but they have to keep one person on there. Overtime's in play. Casper takes out Hardest. Lilbo's going to bring him back. Transcendence being traded. Both teams using it already. They need to get that next defensive ultimate open, but Hardest with the Deadeye takes out Casper. Get him, turns around the micro rockets. This is the resurgence of Eagle Gaming as they're taking over the kill feed and they're taking over the point.
Kevster getting a bit too aggressive there and pushing into the middle of 4 members of the enemy team means, well, you're going to die pretty quickly from that one. And not having that on side was the real problem because you saw at the very start of that fight what McCree and Brigitte can do together in a combo. Get Amazed could barely move. He was constantly stunned up being pelted by the mace, by the pistol coming out of Hardest. Sorry, not by Hardest. On the other side, Casper, just very little to do. It's so frustrating to play against. Now imagine if you're a 200 HP hero like a Genji. It makes it very hard to breathe. So you can understand why Eagle has switched things around, but they've got to hold on for another 50%. Orgless and Hungry, one fight, and this map is theirs.
Going for a little bit of a ropey dope round the back line of Eagle Gaming. Sound barrier triggers a fight for them, but Eagle Gaming, they've adapted to it well. Tries to charge up the Deadeye, finds Hip through the cracks. So they've got 1 kill already. Lilbo's going to rectify it. Get Amaze, turning it around before throwing his mech up into the sky. Eagle Gaming still getting these kills despite some creative plays from Orgless and Hungry. And with Eps off the field, as well as Leodet and Kesper, there's nothing they can do. Eagle Gaming about to match Orgless and Hungry's percentage on this second round.
Hardest has been a player that I've mentioned so often in the last few weeks, most notably for his Zarya play. But last week we saw him on the Widowmaker popping off on that. We've seen him on Tracer, we saw him on Sombra earlier, McCree as well. He's one of those names very quickly flying to the top of my list as versatile player here in Contenders.
Getting close to the danger zone for Orgless and Hungry. Even if they win this fight, it will force out a 99% overtime, so it will be the final fight of this round, and it needs to go in their favor. You can already see people going low off to the right. Derry getting himself out there very quickly, and Casper, he's the first victim. Nico picking up that kill as Hardest moves forward, and you see Nico again going forward. There's a High Noon being used. It's going to be shut down. Oh, no, there's no High Noon being used. I've just been getting confused over this one. Hardest has now got it. He pulls it immediately. Everyone has to take cover. Legday sends the mech out, pops him on the D-mech. He's not going to be coming back to this fight, and the self-destruct took no one with him. It's going to be advantage.
Casper.
Eagle Gaming, the stun up on the Casper. Nothing he can do against the flashbang. They're sending Wrecking Ball at them as well. They're throwing the full stall, and it's not enough. Eagle Gaming taking Ilios 2-0.
A little bit crazy to bring out something like a Doomfist when you're against a Brigitte and the McCree.
It was all to get back to the point.
I understand it was for stall, but it's one of the craziest ones to send in. A Traitor, just to get in the touch of the point and darting it out would have been maybe a bit more sensible, but it doesn't change the outcome. 2-0 to Eagle Gaming, a very decisive map. Most worryingly for Orgless and Hungary, they were beaten at their own game. That wasn't a tank fest. That was about the DPS, it was about the Brigitte, it was about the dive tanks, and they still lost.
Admittedly, tank fest did go worse for them when you look at the first round. Try matching them on the DPS. A little bit more balance, but still going the way of Eagle Gaming. So, bad omens or Koth Curse? We're going to find out when we come back and see more of these maps in this series after this break. Welcome back to Overwatch Contenders Europe. We're about to jump into our second map of our final quarterfinals series here in the Season 2 playoffs. We've already got ourselves Eagle Gaming in the lead with a 1-0 scoreline. Orgless and Hungary were fighting back on that second round, but just not enough to get that victory.
The biggest worry for me about that second round, as we mentioned before the break, was that that was on a dive comp. That was on Orgless and Hungary's bread and butter. That should have been what they win on. Eagles regarded as a tank team, yet they've shown they can beat Orgless on that comp. Now, we can't write them off just yet. We speak a lot about Koth Curse here in EU Contenders. Teams will win the first map and then go on to lose the rest of the series, and that could very well come into effect. But Kings Row, where we're going to next, definitely favours a lot of tank play, especially in those narrow streets.
It's going to be difficult for them to pull this one off. We've already said when they're matching more damage-orientated compositions, Eagle Gaming, life finds a way, shall we say, for them to spread their wings and fly towards victory. It's going to be Orgless and Hungary, I believe, on the defense first, and Eagle Gaming going to be on the offense. Only fitting that the away team attacks the home team. That's, of course, why the new skins work like that. Green is home, white is away.
It does make things a lot clearer for viewer and for us. Makes things a lot easier.
Still make mistakes, though, somehow.
Somehow, every now and then, yeah. And this may well be a mistake in the making, but for now, it's looking pretty exciting. Orgless and Hungary rolling out not with just one change this patch, not two, but three. They've got the Mei, the Sombra, and the Bastion coming into effect. We've already seen how these guys have used the Bastion in creative ways, should we say, in the past. Now could be the best time to try and surprise Eagle Gaming, and ultimately, that's how they're going to win.
I believe they did this, correct me if I'm wrong, Des, I believe they did this exact same strategy on King's Row against British Hurricane, where they placed the Bastion on that high ground, forced him into a tight alleyway, and opened up a firing gallery for themselves. You see, they're playing around in cover. They don't want any chance of being scouted out by anyone lurking in that bell tower. And when the time hits 0, they'll get themselves in position, start raining hell down on the attacking Eagle Gaming, who themselves looking a little bit creative at the moment. I can see them running this Sombra Genji dive.
I imagine they'll change over from the Sombra though and get some scouting out once they know where everyone is. That's exactly why they're kind of lurking back while he's on the look. Now they know what's going on. This could be a time to change, but the Sombra has got behind them. Trying to go for the hack onto the Bastion potentially here. That's not going to be super successful. He's literally stood
He's just waiting. He's letting all it takes is for Casper just to turn around, pivot, and he'll spray and break the invisibility. Hardest on this Reaper. Unusual pickup for them. Oh no, he's been detected. They swung the hammer. Get out of there. Hib, what are you doing, son? Hide away. Oh, there's nowhere for him to run. He has to recall back to the spawn room. Legday will take out Hardest as the fight comes in from Eagle Gaming, thinking they had the drop on their opponents, but with one man down, what did you expect to happen?
And we all said EU was just a 3-3 region, that tanks was all we played. Well, now you get to see something a bit different. You're even seeing a Reaper. You can be happy of seeing this come out. And I actually think British Hurricane did exactly the same thing, bringing out the Reaper, but just couldn't make it work until, I think it was the 4th or 5th attack. It did take them a good few minutes to break this open. This is where Eagle will be stretched and tested a bit here. What's the comp? What's their answer? The dynamic thinking on the fly is going to be a big determinant in whether or not they shut down this Orgless and Hungry defense.
They're paying the Bastion a lot of respect, waiting to use Wraith form to make sure he can't be sprayed down on the drop. They're leaving Hip on the back line to distract them with the orbs. Of course, if there's a pivot in the shields, they'll have some difficulty trying to get some damage onto their Lilbo. Takes out Latex. Harder is going to move forward. Takes out both tanks, if you can include Bastion in that lineup as well. And it's easy pickings for Eagle Gaming after some firm resistance from Orgless and Hungry.
And Feifei speaks a lot, the coach of Eagle Gaming, speaks a lot about Nico's flexibility being huge for them in this roster. Let's not forget, on the last map, he wasn't playing on the D.Va, he was playing other stuff. It was Get Amaze doing that. This time around, he's on the D.Va, showing again that they can mix things in around as they need to. Leaf got the chance to play on the Genji. More than happy to trade that out between those two key members who both play very well.
Casper's then going to jump onto the Hanzo, and Eagle Gaming mix it up for more tank-orientated comps. So what Orgless and Hungry respect about Eagle Gaming, they're showing them with the tankier compositions, obviously opting for the Roadhog rather than what we see in the Zarya.
Yeah, Eagle rolling out instead of with the Zarya this time around, so the head-to-head tank duels might be a problem for them, but they've got that Roadhog on side. EMP comes out.
Superplug immediately shuts it down afterwards with a huge hammer strike. The Shatter drops down. Orgless and Hungry putting out resistance with the kill feed. Seems relatively balanced at the moment, and the health bars certainly are not for the side of Orgless, as Eagle Gaming pressing forward on what they perceive to be an advantage. Hardest securing the kill onto the Latex, and now they're going to fall back to the payload, get it in motion. Now they've already cleared a path for it to move freely.
I feel when you get that EMP out, one of the first things you should do is look for the Zen, because it's literally a click and this guy dies. He has 50 HP remaining. Then you look towards the Rhine, because that big tanky front line is what prevents you pushing through these tankier setups. We saw it in the last series. Constantly, Giganti were on Ben best to make sure Young and Beautiful had no frontline tank to keep them in these fights. This time round, though, a little bit broken, and that's why you saw Eagle Gaming come out on top.
Leonard's getting very close to that Graviton Surge, and he can keep everyone alive through the self-destruct, and the Shatter guarantees the kill onto Kevster. A little bit of a flank coming out from Latex, but he's still going to go down to Leaf. And now Orgless and Hungry have that Graviton Dragon combination online, but they're going to have to contend with a Transcendence from Hip.
Hardest probably just went from 3rd to 2nd in terms of versatile players, because now we're seeing him on the Roadhog. It's been supports all season that have been playing that. Leaf is always the guy we think of as the Roadhog player on this team, but still mixing things up. Now over to the Zarya. They've still got the Transcendence online to play with, but Orgless and Hungry, they've got that combo. We heard Jaw speak about it in the last series. You hit away enough with that hammer swing while the Dragon Strike is in effect, you can break through the healing that comes out of that Transcendence.
Kevster struggling to find an answer for Orgless and Hungry. You cycle through so many hero picks as the map's been progressing. Now settling on that Drunk cut. The Graviton Surge, Dragon comes through, Transcendence is there, damage from Leo.
Everyone lives.
No one's gone down. You should be nailing that combination, Orgless and Hungry, but he nailed the Shatter instead. You've got Casper on the high ground, firing out some shots. Took him so long, but it's Kevster who gets the kill. Needs to move into the Transcendence. Earth Shatter being dropped, but that's from the opposing side. Superplug dropping that one down, not being able to follow up on it, and now Orgless and Hungry are trying to press back against Eagle Gaming. Casper goes up high again. Nico on the Diva can chase him down, so he needs to be careful about where he's standing. Eagle Gaming need to be careful themselves. There's a Riptide coming in from behind, drops down from above. He's going to be taken out by Nico again. This guy is on point with what he's trying to accomplish here.
That's a prime example as well, because the whole time that Super Pollitt was still alive, Eagle was still contesting the point despite all those ultimates getting thrown down. As soon as he dies, they all back away. Without that main tank, you cannot afford to keep on pushing. They have to retreat and continue using this 3.5-minute time bank to get themselves back in towards the payload. Ultimates are still slightly in their favor, actually. They can try and make this work. Two of them coming out, self-destructs.
Self-destruct over the top, looking to block it out. No one falling victim to the moving projectile explosive. Super Pollitt definitely feeling the hurt from these tank wars in the front line, whereas Latex getting a lot of healing, but he's starting to feel it as well. Now Casper got himself that Dragon Strike. There's a sound barrier being used early, so it means if they throw down this Grab Dragon combination, only have one defensive ultimate. It's the Transcendence. Can they get some kills off it this time? Eaten away. Nico sweeps in at the last second to stop that damage from coming out, and that's going to be the pivotal moment for Eagle Gaming to turn this fight around and get even closer to completing King's Row.
Yeah, Kevster does have the tire online, so they've got something, and all the panic stops are coming out now for Orgless and Hungry. They've got the Wrecking Ball, they've got Doomfist, they've got Lucio. This is it, Tridd. Otherwise, Eagle Gaming leave with 2.5 minutes.
Pile driver into the cannon form, immediately shattered by Super Pollitt, but Kevster finally going to shut that madman down with a Riptire. Latex following up with the charge onto Leaf. Hardest on the back line, still sitting on high charge as you would expect, but this rush, panic, strategy and picks coming out from Orgless and Hungry have pushed them all back. Yes, Lilbo will get a consolation kill onto Legday with the boot, but Orgless and Hungry, now with the panic mode over, can switch back to conventional picks.
Legday straight back onto that. Sorry, I like you. So they're going to keep hold of the Junkrat in the hands, so it makes perfect sense. But Eagle Gaming, well, you know what it's time for, Tridd? It's quad tank time.
When in doubt, you always go for that quad tank, my friend. And Eagle Gaming have been very proficient with it, not only in this season, but in Season 1 as well. The 1 week they did play it in group stage, absolutely dominated. Now they're going to rely on it as they look to close out this map. 1 minute 45 remaining in their time bank, and they're trying to win this ground war. Kevster going very low. Hardest will take him out. Casper denying Leaf as they all sit in a Graviton Surge. Super Pollitt with a double flame strike, taking cover from the self-destruct, will move back onto the payload and still trying to strike down Orgless and Hungry as Derry brings Kevster back in the fight. Epps is going to take out Hips. They're missing one support. The Shatter through the payload knocks down multiple members, but Kevster again finding Super Pollitt and a D-Mech for Casper to then clean up with the elbow drop. Orgless and Hungry aren't ready to let Eagle Gaming finish this map yet.
They are so happy to just keep on changing over to these highly mobile picks to make sure they can get back and contest the final point. Casper's on the hands of it. Now they're going to completely change things up. Kevster, this is probably the first time I think we've played this. They're going on to the double shield for a team that does not play tanks. That sounds very tanky to me.
Very reminiscent of their composition they used on their first point defense here on King's Row, but they're going to pull it out for the final stage. Rely on that Bastion very far back. Eagle Gaming using some creative pathing to what they think was get the drop on Orgless and Hungry, using the sound barrier, and they have to move fast. Legday is isolated, needs some emergency healing. Kevster will take out Super Pollitt. Huge shatter from Latex, opens up a gallery for Casper to spray down with bullets. It's still being strong for Orgless and Hungry, and they're going to throw everyone off the map as they have 30 seconds left to defend.
They are stalling Eagle out so well right now. Every single time Eagle come in, they're facing against a different composition. All they're doing is holding down tab, looking at what comp's coming out and responding in kind. They've got the ultimates online to hold this final fight. This will be a huge play if Eagle manage to win this point, Tridd.
Mobility is the name of the game for Eagle. They have to move fast. 10 seconds remaining before overtime is a necessity. The high ground's being held. They still have Casper on the back line. He's got the tank form. Graviton Surge could be huge for them. They're sending Winston at him immediately, and a lot of damage is being blocked out by the Orisa. Here comes the tank form. Leaf deflecting too early. This rocket can now destroy him, but instead he goes for the targets. Hardest has nowhere to flank. He's jumping onto the payload, and he's going to get himself back into recon mode. Unnecessary damage as Leaf will be taken down by the juggernaut Latex. Overtime's going to whittle down. Eagle Gaming failed to complete King's Row.
This is exactly what Ep said these guys would do. We do not play the same game as other teams. We do not play tank versus tank. We innovate, we counter-strat, and we bring it out when it's most crucial. And what a great time to bring it out when you're near the final stop point, a third point, bring out the Bastion, shut everything down, and stop Eagle Gaming. They had 3.5 minutes on that final push.
A lot of time burnt in the final defensive position. Puts Orgless and Hungry in a great spot to win this. I think we very rarely see a team failed to complete King's Row on first attempt. So the fact they're able to deny Eagle Gaming puts it very likely that Orgless and Hungry could take this map, but of course they have to get through whatever Eagle Gaming is going to throw at them, and we know it's going to be tank heavy, Des, and that's what Orgless and Hungry typically can struggle against.
It's what they've got to respond to. Think of what comps are most effective for them to deal with them on this map. In particular, we know snipers tend to reign supreme on that first round, or on the first point, sorry. Unless you're Orgless and Hungry, in which case Bastion tends to reign supreme. But most teams do go towards that double sniper with a dive-based composition. Defensive teams tend to run Orisa on the high ground, sometimes with a D.Va in the mix for the high ground, low ground versatility. If you do need to get down and defend, you can get back up to your team. Eagle, though, they're just going to say, you know what? None of that nonsense. We're just going to run our good old standard 3-3.
Goats it is for Eagle Gaming, and not really changing up since the previous patch. No one's had that adaptation apart from obviously the opportunities where they flexed onto that Sombra. And Sombra wasn't really the most impactful pick for them. Yes, it was used in their roster when they managed to break through Orgless and Hungry's defense, but I wouldn't put the success of that on the Sombra.
My only question for Eagle Gaming's defense here is the lack of a Mercy, because first point holes like this one, we see it on Iconvolt as well. Most teams will throw a Mercy at that first point. That res can be so crucial to you surviving both the first attack and then the subsequent attack because of the res that you get. We said all season long, it's like having a 7th man on your team as long as the Mercy isn't killed in that initial fight. That's what they've got to watch out here for. If someone does get burst down, they will not be able to get back in time for the following fight.
Angles and geometry for Orgless and Hungry. Double sniper composition. Eagle Gaming not showing their hand just yet. I think they're waiting for Orgless and Hungry to aggress onto them. Just
playing Cinema at this point. Again, like you say, just trying to wait it out a little bit, see if Orgless has changed things around. The answer is yes. They're changing immediately over to playing Kevster on the Pharah. Now, Leodeds has been the player that we've seen play this a few times before when they've gone for things like the triple DPS setup, but Kevster is their go-to player in this instance where they need the double projectile.
Sonic Arrow spotted out the high ground tanks, and they're moving straight onto the back line. They've split Orgless and Hungry, going for divide and conquer. They need to regroup, but already Nico has lost his mech to Casper and lost his life as well. Man advantage, Orgless and Hungry, and they're pushing Eagle to the fringes of this area.
That was so unlucky. Hardy's got the bubble onto the wrong target. I think it was a support over one of the tanks in the front line, which meant they lost that early initial battle. They couldn't keep on swinging away. However, the kills are coming back on side. Little Bow and Hip both getting themselves on the scoreboard. Two very aggressive supports we like to speak about alongside Hippu, but in this case, they've managed to hold strong. Again, the question always comes in about the lack of a res.
They need to find a way to deal with Kevster. He's so close to getting that barrage, and he can combo it with either the Earth Shatter or the Graviton Surge. Also, another problem that Eagle Gaming have to overcome is the spawn advantage that Orgless have. Those 1 or 2 picks will necessarily shut out positions, but will also shut out potential ult charge accrual, which could be crucial in the defense.
They've got hold of this barrage as well. That could be the big play they're looking for as long as they manage to eliminate Nico from the equation. We've seen what Divas can do when they manage to eat up the majority of these barrages. Equally, we've seen many Pharahs die while using those barrages because you just see Divas fly straight at them and you kill yourself off the explosion that comes out of the rockets.
Coalescence being used, but the terrain is safe for Kevster. They just need to look up. Hardest going very low. Protect the barrier. We'll keep him alive. For Casper, he's got an alternative angle. We talked about geometry already, Des. They've got it down perfectly. Oh. Beautiful headshot onto Super Fluke will guarantee the kill. Scouting arrow. It's going to tag out. Hit for Casper to find again. Orgless and Hungry should be able to complete this and get the payload in motion. Just need to clear out a mech. Clear out an immediate headshot onto Leaf. Casper giving us a masterclass of Hanzo to secure point A.
Stellar play there, winning him that point very decisively. And again, picking off the main tank is the big one, the lack of the res. That could have potentially held it for Eagle, but with 2 minutes down, we head into the streets facing Orgless and Hungry. Well, if their bar wasn't already green enough, look how green it is now with all of those ultimates online.
Ults online, just missing the Valkyrie from Denia, but a lot of options for them to play with already. Graviton Surge from Eagle Gaming, they don't want to give him a chance to get the combination off. And immediately, counter grab, counter coming up for Kevster as he gets multiple men with the barrage. The 1-2 switcheroo, you think it's the Dragon Strike, it's going to be a rocket instead. Team kill for Orgless and Hungry.
It's always the kind of thing we think of when we see both the Pharah and the Hanzo come out together. Your number one question is overkill potentially. He eliminates most members with the barrage and we still see the Hanzo Dragon Strike come out immediately afterwards. It's maybe not the best use of ultimates, but it gets the job done. Eagle Gaming get wiped out and Orgless and Hungry manage to get their push on.
You're onto something there, Des. They've burned through their ultimate economy. They've only got themselves the Earth Shatter. When you look at Eagle Gaming, however, they've got an Earth Shatter of their own, about to have the self-destruct sound barrier and the rally. It's a lot to contend with.
Absolutely is. Well, this is Contenders. What better place to contend here? They come with a sound barrier trying to push their way through.
And already they got Nico in the face of Casper. Wants to change what happened before. He's safe from the self-destruct if he stays up on this point, but the rest of his team is not safe from Eagle as they start to run through using the ultimates to their advantage, but they still retain that Earth Shatter.
Just like in the last series that we saw between Young and Beautiful and Giganti, it was all about ult exchange in the Streets phase. Very obviously different story on the first point and the third. That's why a lot of teams like King's Rose, each section feels very different. You play different comps, you have different styles of play. Really kind of stretches you out and lets you flex your muscles, and in some cases, catch the enemy team off guard. And a great way to catch them off guard, Tridd, is basically spawn camping them.
They're committing to the spawn camp, even with ultimates. They use the Shatter for a solo man ult there, just to really nail that they want this position to hold them well away from the payload. Buy time for it to move back so they have more to play with should they fail their defense. And they're just keeping an eye on both these entrances. Dragon Strike going to be sent through, so it clears them away from one. They have a path to success, and they're going to use it, the window of opportunity, to get out of their spawn room. But now they either need to get to the payload or get some kills onto Eagle as they reposition back.
Just going to have to peel all the way back here. Orgless and Hungry coming behind them, but let's not forget the whole time of this full hold. Yes, it's risky. You can get staggered out, but the payload is rolling back the whole time. And Orgless and Hungry, even if they win, still have to get to the point, and Hardest is charged with that Graviton Surge. Out it comes.
Throws it out. Latex, Kevster going to be caught in the middle of it. There's the Transcendence and the Valkyrie to keep everyone alive. This is the counter-attack for Orgless and Hungry. This is such an aggressive position for Eagle Gaming. There's a lot to gain and they can get the kills. Latex going down. Should get the resurrection. Hip going to go down with the Transcendence. That's huge for Orgless and Hungry as the tire from Kevster will be taken out by a Flame Strike. So there's a small victory for Eagle Gaming. They're still keeping Orgless and Hungry away from this payload, but they're not keeping themselves away from the respawn room.
Being down at the very end of that one was brutal. Hip died at the wrong time. They're getting called out by the scouting arrow coming out of Hanzo. A headshot, it will still do a hell of a lot of damage and see the end of a Zen. If he'd stayed alive and that Transcendence had been there to keep the front line alive, they wouldn't find themselves in this situation where Orgless and Hungry, with 1 minute left, are pushing in towards the end of the second.
They've got time for one more contest on this checkpoint if they're fast enough, but if they lose one member quickly, it could be all over for that defensive point hold. Look at the ultimates available to Eagle Gaming. Graviton Surge immediately used from Orgless and Hungry. Counter Shatter to deny the response. Transcendence will keep him alive from the Dragon Strike, but not from everyone else, as Casper is off to the side again. Super Blue takes out his opposite man. The kill feed goes in favor of Orgless and Hungry, and they're going to be able to do this, keep him away. And the Transcendence from Epps makes sure it's all going to go their way. Just burn through Super Blue, and you get yourself a time extension. 2 minutes to complete this map and take a first map win in this series.
Epps charged that second Transcendence so quick because he used it in the last fight in the Streets phase as well. Gets them on towards the second with 1 minute and 40 left. Looking at the ult charges though, Kevster, Casper, the 2 big DPS ults, they're looking on here to net themselves some kills. They've only got to get themselves, even not towards the fully entered, it's almost there, but not quite, and we will have a winner out of this match.
Oh, Casper trying to be sneaky there to avoid the self-destruct, which also got Denia unable to do so. 1 minute 20 on the clock for Orgless and Hungry, burned through the Dragon Strike and the Riptire. Eagle Gaming, they have the ult advantage in terms of that Earth Shatter, and they're about to get the Rally and the Transcendence as well.
I had a criticism of Orgless and Hungry, I think it was in week 2 or 3, where they were using ults completely out of sync with each other. Casper and Leodeds not chaining together that ultimate combo that would have won them the fight, even with 3 minutes remaining. They might find that's the case here unless Casper can get that ult charge up nice and quick. Problem is, there's a lot of shields in front of him that are going to prevent that from happening.
Shatter blocked out by Latex. Super Fluke left out in the open. Will put his shield up to keep him alive, but the team moves forward to protect him. Latex taken out by Nico. As Hardest about to get a Graviton Surge for his own. Doesn't need to use it because Nico's doing even more work. And taking out multiple members of Orgless and Hungry. And they're getting staggered out. They need to run back fast, get themselves defended because the stagger is real. 30 seconds on the clock for Orgless and Hungry.
Leoded's using the ultimate out of sync. This is what I was just talking about, because now Casper has got his, but nothing to chain it with. Even more importantly, Nico ate the ultimate, so that whole thing has been shut down. Yes, they've got about 4 ultimates about to come online, but on the other side, you've got the same kind of story. You've got that crucial Transcendence from Hip. Either Casper gets a very crucial pick onto him at the very start here, or I think this is over for Orgless and Hungry.
They need to win in dominant fashion and keep the overtime going. Transcendence coming out early. Self-destruct cuts Leaf off from the fight, but no one's focusing him. They'd rather go for the tanks. Graviton Surge pulls them together. A Transcendence coming out from Eagle Gaming. They pull him apart. Self-destruct is there. The shield will block it out, but they've already scattered the rest of Orgless and Hungry. Leodeds goes down. Latex, they even lose their tire. There's only got themselves 2 DPS and a support. Eagle Gaming going to shut down Orgless and Hungry and take the series 2-0 as we enter halftime.
Legday's trying his best to get to the point, but it's that curse again, Tridd, like I say, of the not syncing of the ultimates. If they'd held on for just another 10, 15 seconds of Hanzo pinging away, that would have been online, and that could have been the game-winning combo for them, but it wasn't to be. Eagle, coming in as the lower seed, are definitely giving the home team a fight here and showing them that actually Eagle want another chance at Giganti in the semi-finals.
Absolutely, and who wouldn't want that chance to give them some revenge after, well, Season 1 now. I can call it a humiliation, shall we say, in playoffs, but looking to change that fact. And it all starts with a victory over Orgs and Hungary, which they're well on their way to do. One more map is all they need to take this series and get themselves a spot in the semi-final.
Some concern that these maps are the ones being picked by Orgless and Hungary, and they are very tank-favoured maps. I can Volge with a bit more freedom on, so maybe would have been a better pick. Like to see with the next few maps, at least it turned towards something more DPS-focused, where they can play dive and play to their strengths. Tridd. That's what they've got to do to bring themselves back into this series. But going into the half, well, Eagle Gaming are 2-0.
Yeah, well, we need to find out what that map's going to be. And in order to do that, we need to go and speak to our analyst and find out what they thought of the series so far.